Great. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to join today. I'm from far away, at least. We're saving some carbon footprints. Please go to the next slide. I'm going to talk today quickly about BRAC overall to give you a sense of what we do and where we work. And then I'm going to zoom in on our program that works exclusively with the ultra-poor that was developed in Bangladesh, but now increasingly is being used and adapted for use around the world. Then I'll talk to you about some of the different pilots that we're actually working on right now in our microfinance program, looking at different ways to expand financial inclusion and or improve our services and products for our existing clients. And then I'll throw out a few final thoughts that I think are important as we think about financial inclusion in the overall global context. Next slide, please. So BRAC is a difficult organization to explain succinctly, but I'll give it a shot. We work at multiple different levels. So the most basic level that we work at is working with individuals to help them become change makers in their own community. And so we do this with a lot of capacity building and also service delivery, including education and health, with a focus on women, youth, and marginalized populations. We also were founded in Bangladesh in 1972 with a very strong influence from Paulo Freire and power dynamics, the importance of collectivization, different things like that. And so we believe that part of the reason why the poor are poor is because they lack power, and that through organizing themselves, they can actually have power. And so we do a lot in terms of creating community action groups, helping poor women come together to prevent early marriage and other issues in their community, to understand kind of the responsibilities of the local government and how to advocate effectively at that level, and different things like that. We also realize from our experiences, particularly in microfinance, that you can give people loans, but if you give them a loan and they don't have, for example, they buy a cow, they try to sell milk in the local market, and the prices are quite low, you haven't necessarily made their life that much better. And so we've done a lot of work around creating social enterprises and trying to connect the rural poor with the urban markets. And so we run a very large retail store. We work in dairy, we work in poultry, a lot of different things like that. And then lastly, to work at the scale that we work at, we have to work in partnership with the government. And so we do a lot to support the national priorities and strategy of the government, particularly in areas like health and education, but also in a number of other sectors. Next slide, please. So I'm going to focus predominantly on our work in Bangladesh, but it's worth noting that BRAC is active in 12 countries around the world now. We're considered the largest organization in the world by many indicators, and we touch about 135 million people through a number of different services and programs. Next slide, please. So we, about 15 years ago, when BRAC was looking at its microfinance data, it realized that while it thought it had been reaching the poorest of the poor, it actually was missing kind of the very bottom. And when it went in to look at why, it found that, these people actually couldn't benefit from a loan. They were living hand to mouth, day to day. They didn't have income generating activities or necessarily skills that they could use. A lot of times they had health issues. Their children were out of school. They felt very socially isolated. They lacked hope, those types of things. And so it actually set up a very interesting program, very intense, to support these people and help them kind of move up in terms of being able to access microfinance services. And I'd like to show a short video, which I think is also set up on that end, and then I'll resume talking.
This is Sabina. She lives in Bangladesh. She works hard every day and yet struggles to eat one meal a day and support her family with bare necessities like clean water and education. 1.2 billion people live under the extreme poverty line of $1.25 a day. Sabina is one of hundreds of millions of people living on less than half that, especially marginalized and vulnerable, barely able to sustain themselves. They are the ultra-poor. But Sabina has found a way to break free from extreme poverty. Through an organization called BRAC, she will get a foothold on the economic ladder and continue climbing. She will have graduated from extreme poverty, and she won't be going back. Since 1972, BRAC has been creating opportunities for people to lift themselves out of poverty through healthcare, microfinance, and other interventions. But even BRAC's most successful programs have had difficulty reaching the very poorest. In 2002, in order to address the unique needs of people like Sabina, BRAC created a set of interventions tailored for the ultra-poor. The process begins by engaging communities and helping them identify which families are in the greatest need. Once chosen, Sabina and her family get a one-time grant of an asset, like a goat or a package of goods for small trade, which helps them jumpstart their livelihoods. Sabina also receives a cash stipend along with regular training and hands-on guidance as she learns to make a living. She gets health support, learns how to save, gains confidence, and becomes better integrated in her community. Over the next 24 months, Sabina's life is transformed. She earns enough to eat regular meals, drink safe water, and send her children to school. In Bangladesh, BRAC has reached more than 1.4 million households. The impact is significant and well documented, with more than 95% of participants graduating out of extreme poverty and moving forward with hope. In collaboration with CGAP and the Ford Foundation, other organizations have successfully adapted BRAC's model in other parts of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Today, BRAC is ready to work with partners, governments, and donors to implement this proven program for ending extreme poverty around the world. Partner with us at brac.net.
So that's our ultra poor program. You can move ahead to the next slide. So, you know, as the video mentions, there's still a tremendous number of people living in extreme poverty, both in Bangladesh and in other countries around the world. Bangladesh is actually a positive story in the sense that in the early 1990s, about 70% of the population lived on under $1.25 a day. And you can see that now that population has fallen and continues to fall substantially. Nonetheless, there's still a tremendous number of people living in poverty who urgently need support. And BRAC believes that microfinance is one of the best and sustainable ways to reach these people and help them better take advantage of their lives. Next slide, please. So BRAC is best known for, you know, group-based microfinance at the grassroots level, bringing together groups of women to give individual loans, largely for family businesses. This is what we call our Dabi program. And we give about 4 million loans each year to borrowers of this type. You can see that those loans are, you know, range about $200, $300. About 10 years ago, we started another program called Progoti, which works with the kind of the next level up. So people who run larger businesses need bigger loans, but still aren't big enough to be able to access the commercial banks. And so this is a program that we've built to offer loans to the next segment, more of the kind of $2,000 to $3,000. And you can see that we reach about 4 million borrowers with Dabi and about 300,000 borrowers with Progoti. And then again, a few years ago, we realized that there are a number of people going abroad to access jobs in other places. Bangladesh is heavily dependent on remittances, and there are a lot of opportunities for people from Bangladesh to greatly improve the situations of their families by working internationally. And unfortunately, though, a lot of those people end up selling their assets, selling their land in order to finance their trips. And so through a loan product, also working in partnership with BRAC's Safe Migration Program, which provides a lot more information and support about you know, the risks and benefits of migration, that's been a quickly expanding program. And overall, last year, we gave about 4.5 million loans in Bangladesh and dispersed about $2 billion. And our repayment rate's about 99%, and this is a completely sustainable program. Next slide, please. So the work that I do most of the time is actually looking at research and development and the ways in which we can either improve our existing products or launch new things. And so since we have a short time today, I decided I would just focus on 3 of the different pilots that we're working on and actually scaling up this year. And then I'm happy to talk in more depth about some of the other work that we're doing. Next slide, please. So the first one I want to talk about actually builds well on what William was sharing about mobile money. So Bangladesh is considered I think the fastest growing mobile money market in the world, with the largest company, Bcash, being a BRAC investment. And so we've been thinking a lot, as William was saying, about how do we leverage this service that's used primarily for money transferring to actually help people increase their access to savings accounts, loans, and other important financial services. And so one of the pilots we've been running is actually enabling our clients to make their savings deposits via mobile money. And this saves them, having to come into the branch office and do those deposits, the expenses and the times related to that. It means that they can make deposits even if they're traveling or migrating to other areas for work. And so we thought that this might be a more convenient and flexible way that enable them to save more. And so we've been piloting this at about 100 branches. We found that about 15% of clients prefer this method. It tends to be the people who live far away or are very busy with a business, or those who also get a large proportion of their income sent from like a son or a husband living in another place. One thing, just to echo what William was saying as well, is that it's a real struggle for these women to do the transactions. Most of them, they have their own account, but they actually do the transaction with an agent. It took a lot of coaxing from our staff to even get them to trust this technology. And so it's something that we're scaling up, but trying to do it, with a lot of support and caution as well. Next slide, please. And actually, I was out in the field on Sunday talking to some of our clients, and one of them was telling us that she used to spend about 100 taka, which is about $1.50, to deposit about $8 every month. And now she doesn't have to spend that, and she saves her time. And so we were asking what she does with this extra 100 taka, and she's actually started a new savings account where she saves 100 taka a month. So she's kind of immediately getting that benefit. Another pilot that we're really excited about is one that looks at medical emergencies facing our clients. If you look at those clients who don't repay their loans, one of the major reasons is health emergencies, which I think is similar to what we actually see in some developed countries where insurance is not universal. In Bangladesh, most of our clients do not have health insurance. And so we've developed a scheme that enables them to very quickly access an additional loan if needed for medical purposes. And so this is something we've now been piloting for a little over a year. We're scaling it up substantially this year. We've given about 1,600 loans so far. Again, most of them quite small. $20, $50, like that, for basic medical services, sometimes surgery, often for delivery. Sometimes it's for household members like children or husbands. And the repayment on that has been really good. It's comparable to our other loans. And so this is a product that our clients and our staff really appreciate. And we're in the midst of trying to do some evaluation to see if this actually leads to better health-seeking behavior and outcomes. Next slide, please. And so then lastly, there's been a lot of discussion in microfinance recently about client protection and customer service. And I think particularly as microfinance as a sector becomes more complex with more products, increasing focus on things like insurance products, savings, technological components, making sure that our clients really understand what we're doing is very important. For a lot of different reasons. Do they understand the terms and conditions? Are they aware of the interest rates and the calculations and different things like that? The risks of over-indebtedness. And so last year, BRAC rolled out in about half of its branches a very large financial education and customer service program, which means that any client taking a loan from us prior to getting the loan goes through a half an hour pre-disbursement orientation covering, different topics like over-indebtedness, the benefits that all BRAC clients are entitled to, what to do if they have a complaint, different things like that. And I think we gave that orientation to over 1 million people last year. In addition to that, we're targeting our vulnerable clients and bringing them in for 4 afternoons of sessions going in depth on topics. This can be everything from, over indebtedness and why they should be careful about taking loans from multiple institutions, the importance of savings and different kind of savings habits that they may benefit from. And also, just gives them a chance to build a stronger relationship with us in terms of managing their money. And that we give that to about 92,000 clients over the last year, and we're scaling this up to all of our branches this year. And then next slide, please. So then lastly, I'd love to talk more, during the Q&A or offline about the different things that we're doing. We're running an innovation fund for mobile money, and we're actually looking for ideas right now in terms of what BRAC could do with mobile money and its different programs from education, health, as well as microfinance. We're also very excited about a micro insurance scheme that we started piloting a few months ago, and some of the work that we're doing with youth in terms of developing customized products just for them. 3 reflections I just wanted to share to add to the rest of the discussion. One is, I think, William was saying this as well, but the financial lives of the poor are quite complex. And so often when we go in with a new product, all of our assumptions in terms of how they use money, what would be helpful for them, are just completely wrong. And so there's a big need both to do kind of, very rigorous research, but also to look to understand how the informal and formal solutions people are using to manage their money. And I think one learning for me, for example, has been that people in Bangladesh often prefer to take loans from multiple institutions versus get all of their loans from BRAC, which is what we would have thought if we could design the perfect products, they would have preferred to have us, but they actually prefer to have these independent relations. So that's just an example of one of the things we have to think about when we're designing new solutions. Secondly is that we're also seeing that clients really appreciate the simplicity of products, that a simple product is one that they can understand easily, they can figure out how to fit it into their life. I think, for example, with Bcash mobile money, send money to people somewhere else is a very simple use case that has led to the tremendous pickup that we see up here. And I think when we think about financial inclusion, what we're really trying to do is offer people a range of very good products that they can pick and choose to see what best suits their life. And then lastly, digital financial services are extremely exciting, and there's a lot of opportunities to innovate and to improve what we do, but there's also a lot of new risks. And I think that, it's very clear that the way that, especially the poor understand mobile money, there's still a long way to go before we can really talk about financial inclusion. And the issues that are coming out about mobile ownership and access between men and women, even within a household, I think mean that we have to be a bit careful in terms of how quickly we go forward and kind of tout this as a solution to financial inclusion. And so it's great to be, here to talk about these types of things. And, I'd be happy to share more about, what we're seeing that's working and not working. So I'd just like to, you can go to the next slide, say thanks. And then I've also included in this presentation you can go one more slide, just a list of some links where we've talked more about our different pilots and some of the different work that we're doing, as well as another great video that we didn't have time to share, but happy to talk more. Thank you.
Very much, Maria. Maria, can I just ask you, how prominently does insurance feature in the portfolio that BRAC provides?
So it's a very small portion. So we've only just started in November providing just a basic credit shielding product to our clients in just 20 branches. So it's a handful, a couple thousand clients that currently have taken this product. But in those 20 branches, we've seen that actually over 70% of clients voluntarily paid for this product. So we are seeing a great demand.